Hey, Beastista here, and welcome to week 1 of the VDL. This week we're playing against the Irish Incineroars, a new team to the VDL. So let's get straight into the matchup. So the left is my team, and the right is their team. So looking at my team, if you look at just the speed stats, my first three Pokemon, Crobat, Naganadel, and Salazzle, has higher speed than every single Pokemon on my opponent's team. In addition, if you look at the speed of my bottom three Pokemon, Slowking, Amoonguss, and Toxapex, they underspeed every single Pokemon on my opponent's team. So I have Pokemon that are faster than their entire team and slower than my entire team. And so I definitely have the ability to kind of outspeed them if I am able to get into the right position. So looking at my opponent's team, some of the big things that are concerning is Sigilyph, for example. Sigilyph is a psychic Pokemon, so it deals a lot of damage to my team. In addition, it also learns Tailwind, which gives it speed control, which gives it the ability to have speed control. In addition, Nidoqueen is a very concerning Pokemon because it does an incredibly large amount of damage that is ground type, and that deals super effective damage to most of my team. In addition, it resists most of my stab moves, my Pokemon, and so it's definitely pretty concerning. Other than that, um, they definitely have some reasonably powerful Pokemon, but nothing that in particularly, concerns me. So let's get into my team. So this is my team. So I'm going to start on the top left. So Naganadel is definitely going to be my main offensive threat this week. I gave it the Papaya Berry, which makes psychic moves do half damage to it. So that means it should be able to take a psychic move from any Pokemon on my opponent's team and be able to survive it. In addition, I gave it Nasty Plot. So Nasty Plot is a way to double its special attack, and that makes a +2 special attack. Naganadel is able to kill almost everything on my opponent's team in one hit. And then we gave it fire coverage, which deals with the Pokemon that resist dragon moves. So Salazzle next to it has a focus sash because it's very frail. However, it has fake out and the same move coverage as Naganadel. It's going to mainly be there as a fake out Pokemon and then hopefully do a little bit of damage before it dies. So next, on the middle left, we see there's Slowking. I gave it Trick Room, Psychic, Calm Mind, and Protect. I considered giving it Shadow Ball instead of Psychic because Ghost moves do very good damage to my opponent's team on average. However, I decided Psychic was more important because it deals with some of the Pokemon I'm very concerned with, specifically Nidoqueen. Other than that, I gave it Regenerator and the Agua Berry, which lets it have some longevity, hopefully. Next, I have Skunk Tank. So Skunk Tank, I have a Shuka Berry. I gave it Stench so that Sucker Punch has a 10% chance of flinching. And Dark and Fairy actually hits every single Pokemon on my opponent's team for at least neutral. So that's actually a very good move combination, which is why I feel comfortable doing 2 Dark moves instead of another coverage move. Next, we see Amoonguss. Amoonguss is definitely going to be one of the biggest Pokemon this week. It's got Rage Fire, Spore, Protect, and then I gave it Hex. Hex hits every single Pokemon on my team for at least neutral except for one. So there's only one Pokemon that resists ghost moves. In addition, it does double damage whenever my opponent's Pokemon are asleep. So I'm definitely going to be very focused on hitting spores. And then I gave it the Aqua Berry, which makes fire damage do half damage. And so this is specifically so it can survive an attack from Blacephalon. And also it guarantees that Nidoqueen cannot kill it in one hit, because the only move that Nidoqueen can do that could kill it in one hit is Flamethrower. And finally, we gave Wheezing. I gave it Levitate. So this gives me a ground immunity, which is definitely good at being able to move switch ends and be able to, kind of have a free switch in if I'm expecting them to do a ground move. In addition, I made it physical because my opponent's team is more specially bulky and I didn't have as many physical attackers. And I gave it the Dark Fairy coverage, which hits everything on my opponent's team for at least neutral. And I gave it Pain Split for late games against, for a late game type situation. And so that's my team. So let's get into the matches. So here we are for our first match. So looking at my opponent's team, the one thing that is very noteworthy to me is that my opponent's team is missing Nidoqueen. and Nidoqueen definitely was something I was very concerned about. So my main plan game 1 was to go Naganadel, Mungus, and then Slazzle and Skuntank in the back. And I'm mainly right now considering whether or not I should do that based on the fact that Nidoqueen is not there. So I'm pretty sure that their strategy is going to be pretty comparable, which is Sigilyph and some sort of offensive threat. And so I decided that this is probably going to be a good lead. So we see the lead Glade Sigilyph. And I have Naganadel Mungus. So here I'm pretty sure that they're just going to Tailwind and attack into my Naganadel slot. So I decided to just protect and Spore into the Glade. So we protect Naganadel. And they Ice Punch into Glade. And they set up Tailwind, which is exactly what I expected. So turn 1 went exactly as I was hoping, and I'm pretty happy. So here I just Spore Glade. So now I'm feeling pretty safe. So I decided I'm just going to Nasty Plot and go for the Spore on the Sigilyph. Here I'm pretty sure, like, worst case scenario, they try to Psychic my Naganadel, and I'm like, oh, I have the berry, so I'm fine. So they end up Thunder Raven, so this is definitely concerning. So now there's a lot of variance in this game, and I'm very concerned about that. I have not taken damage, so my Naganadel is very strong, and I have the +2 special attack now. However, I definitely would felt a lot more safe if I would have just been attacked instead of Thunder Wave there. But I do get the Spore off, and now both my opponent's Pokemon are asleep. So here I'm debating whether or not I want to try to kill Sigilyph or Glade, because they both are pretty threatening. So I decided to go for Glade because Glade has had 1 turn of sleep and is definitely more concerning. And I decided to double up on it in case it has a Focus Sash or somehow survives this. Glade gets the 2nd turn of sleep, which is definitely convenient. And so it has its 1st turn of sleep, which is guaranteed. We hit the Draco Meteor. And they have the virtual Focus Sash because they do not have a Focus Sash that proc there, which is definitely concerning. We do end up killing it with the Hex, and so we got the first kill. So they bring in Dracovish, and here I'm pretty sure that Draco Meteor kills Dracovish, and I've decided to just Rage Powder because Mungus should definitely be able to take any attack from Dracovish, and Draco Meteor should kill Dracovish. So it Psychic Fangs, and that doesn't kill my Mungus, and then they end up Air Slashing, and this ends up getting my Mungus down. So Amogus did pretty good. I made 2 Pokemon go to sleep, and it took 2 attacks there. And then here I'm able to get a Draco Meteor off into the Dracovish. And we'll get the kill. So now my Naganadel is now at -2, but after that kill it's going to get back up to -1 from the Beast Boost. So it's at -1 special attack though. But their Tailwind goes off, which means that Slazzle is now faster than their entire team. However, I decide that I think that Skuntank is a better Pokemon to bring in right here, because it fares very well into the Sigilyph. And they bring up the Slapalon. And so now I'm feeling pretty good. I have Skuntank, which is advantageous for position to both of my opponent's Pokemon. And so now I decide I'm just going to Nasty Plot and Sucker Punch. This is probably a little bit of a greedy decision, but I'm pretty sure there's going to protect with the Slapalon and Tailwind. They do in fact protect. And I do the Sucker Punch. And they do Tailwind. So this one pretty much exactly as I was expecting, and I get the Nasty Plot up. So here I make sure I have my +1 special attack, And so that means I should be able to one-shot Sigilith, about 90% chance. And then Sucker Punch is guaranteed to one-shot Blacephalon based on my EV spread. We see the Sucker Punch ends up bringing it to its Focus Sash, and we identify that Blacephalon is the one with Focus Sash. I probably should have protected with Naganadel here because there's a good chance that they were going to double up into it. And we see that they do Expanding Force. And then, in addition to the Expanding Force, they also Psychic into that spot. And so I probably could have saved Naganadel. It was pretty obvious that they were going to have a Focus Sash there, but you know, if they didn't have the Focus Sash, I would have been a very easy win. And even now, I still feel pretty good. So now we have Salazzle and Skuntank, and Skuntank should honestly be able to just win this game by itself. Checking the number of turns of Tailwind, we see there's 2 turns of Tailwind left, so I'm just going to fake out Sigilith and Sucker Punch into Blacephalon. There's a good chance Blacephalon is going to protect here, but it doesn't matter because Sigilith is not going to be able to do any damage this turn. They end up not protecting with Blacephalon, and I get the kill. And so now I definitely feel great. My Skuntank should be able to 2-shot Sigilith, and I should also be able to outspeed them if next turn after Tailwind goes away. So here I end up just protecting because it's pretty obvious they're going to Psychic into that spot. And I decided to just crunch in case they want to do a non-damaging move to play around with Sucker Punch. So they do in fact Psychic into Salazzle, and I get the crunch off. And as we can see, that is a clean 2-shot even regardless of the defense drop. However, they do have the Eye of Papa Berry, which makes them end up being pretty high HP. And so here, however, the game's pretty much over. They didn't have no more Tailwind. And so I can just cleanly Flamethrower and crunch into that spot. So the Psychic goes into the Salazzle, and this reveals my Focus Sash, which is definitely a little bit annoying. It would have been nice if I would have been able to get the win without it. However, I didn't want to risk a Sucker Punch if they were going to do something like a Tailwind and maybe have somehow be able to get back in the game. And we get there. So we won game 1, and let's see how game 2 goes. Here we are for game 2. So game 1 went very well, and I have a suspicion that if I led the same way, that it wouldn't be as successful. So I'm thinking about what's the best way to change my play in order to, you know, adjust to any adjustments that they might do. And so a pretty reasonable adjustment that they could do is something like the Cephalon, our double offensive threat. Yeah, with like, you know, like I said, like Blacephalon and maybe Dracovish or Blacephalon and Gallade. And that would definitely be concerning. So I'm figuring out what the best way it is to deal with that. So I'm pretty sure Skuntank seems like a pretty good lead if they lead super offensively. And I decided I'm going to do the slow package, which is Slowking and Wheezing in addition to Amoonguss and Skuntank. So here I'm debating maybe it's optimal to, instead of doing Skuntank, Slowking, Amoonguss and Skuntank. I mean Amoonguss and Slowking. However, I decided that it's probably just best as it is. They lead Sigilith Dracovish, and I'm definitely feeling really sad here because I feel like I could have easily taken this game if I would have just led the exact same way as I did game 1. So here I'm debating if I want to, or what I want to do. So I decide I'm debating between a couple things. If I have a reasonable switch in, what's the best thing I can do? And I'm just going to Sucker Punch in Trick Room. So Sucker Punch, make sure I survive a Vicious Run from Dracovish. And Vicious Run goes into my Slowking, which this activates my Guava Berry, and now I should be able to survive any attack from the Sigilith. They just go for Thunder Wave here, and basically are hoping for a full paralysis. So this ends up being really annoying that I get fully paralyzed, and I don't get Trick Room up. And I feel like I'd be in incredible shape if I had Trick Room up. So here I just had to just play rough and go for a Protect, because it's pretty clear that they're going to attack into my Slowking spot. And I get fully paralyzed a second time. And Vicious Rain, however, does not kill because I did go first even though I was fully paralyzed. So definitely had some pretty bad luck so far with double back-to-back fully paralyzed that were both very relevant. Here we do get the player off of Dragovish, which means that it should be in Sucker Punch range. And so here we just Sucker Punch into Dragovish, and I'm going to switch out, and I decided to switch out into the Amoonguss spot. Nope, into the Weezing. Decided to switch out into the Weezing. So this does two things. It heals my Slowking a little bit because it has Regenerator, and also can do pretty good if they do something like an Air Slash into the Nidoking, or into the Slowking spot. So they end up just Tailwinding, which I'm okay with because they were outspeeding me no matter what because my team is very slow right now. So they bring out Venusaur. And so here I just decided between a couple things. I decide that I think the most likely thing we're going to do is Thunder Wave into my Weezing or Sleep Powder into my Weezing. So I decided to protect the Weezing to prevent it from getting slept or Thunder Waved. And the Venusaur Earth Powers into the Skunk Tank, which has the Shuka Berry, so I take this very well. Does about quarter damage. And they do in fact Thunder Wave into the Weezing, so I did prevent that for a turn. And I do get the Crunch off. And that does very good damage, and I have a clean kill next turn. And I happen to get the defense kill, or defense drop. So here I'm debating whether or not it's worth switching in to Amoonguss, and I end up switching in, predicting an Earth Power into that spot. Oh nope. I decided to just Sucker Punch instead. And Assurance into the Sigilyph, because the Insurance should actually kill the Sigilyph there. I do get the Sucker Punch off. And the Earth Power. And this does quite a big damage, but Skunk Tank still is alive. And they get the Thunder Wave off into the Weezing. So here I got another full paralysis. I'm definitely feeling really annoyed right now. I'm like, man, those were 3 really big full paralyses. And I'm definitely concerned here because I feel like that one kind of might have sealed up the game for me. So I decided to Sucker Punch in the Sigilyph spot and decide to double up into, or to go for the Venusaur spot here. So if I don't get fully paralyzed, I should kill it. They end up not doing that. And the Earth Power kill my Skunk Tank. The Sucker Punch ended up not mattering because Venusaur does outspeed me, but they end up Tailwinding specifically so I can't be Sucker Punched, and then I get another full paralysis. So here I'm feeling really annoyed. So I bring in the Slowking here. I feel like Slowking should be able to survive an Earth Power from Venusaur, and so hopefully I can get a Trick Room up. And then here I just Assurance to hopefully kill Sigilyph finally. So the Earth Power into Slowking as expected. However, Slowking does not take that. I was definitely surprised by that. Probably should have spent some time to calculate to do the damage calc, but definitely a little sad. So Sigilyph ends up Tailwinding, which definitely I'm saying is very good for me because that is kind of a wasted move. And I end up killing the Sigilyph finally. And here now we have the Amoonguss. And so we're down to 2v2, and I'm not feeling super great about my position because they have Magneton. And Magneton has a pretty good matchup into my Weezing, and my Amoonguss can't do great damage into either of these Pokemon, and I can't Spore the Venusaur. So I decided to just Spore the Magneton and Assurance the Venusaur. Magneton protects, which is not surprising, but Amoonguss couldn't have done too much even if I didn't Spore into it. Now, I happen to be very lucky in the Earth Power into Weezing, and I reveal Levitate. And so it's definitely one of the nice things. It's hard to tell that it has Levitate if you don't know Weezing particularly well. So here is a pretty plan. Here I'm pretty sure I just spore the Magneton and go for the Protect here. This prevents a Flash Cannon from doing too much damage to me, and also keeps the Magneton asleep. Incineroar Earth Powers into my Amoonguss, and Amoonguss takes that incredibly well. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then Flash Cannon does go into the Wheezing, and now Magneton's asleep. And so here I'm feeling like, okay, so Magneton, if Magneton's asleep, we should be doing pretty good. So now I decide to Hex and Assurance, and to Venusaur, this is definitely close to a kill because Assurance doubles damage if Amoonguss goes first, and because Weezing's paralyzed, I am slower than my Amoonguss. So they get the Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb does more than Earth Power, which is concerning. Magneton takes its first turn of sleep, and I get the Hex off, and Amoonguss is in fact faster than my Weezing, and now this looks a little bit short, but I end up missing with another full paralysis. A lot of full paralysis, feeling bad, but I did have 3 Pokemon fully paralyzed, so I'm definitely I'm like, okay, I needed one of these full paralysis to hit, and I would have been pretty good. I decided to double up Venusaur again. If I get the double up, I should be able to kill. So the Sludge Bomb to Amoonguss again. Magneton wakes up, Flash Cannons into my Weezing, and my Weezing is very hurt. So we Hex into the Venusaur, and Assurance should definitely kill here, and it hits, and we do kill. So now it's a 1v1. I'm not exactly sure how to feel. I'm feeling definitely like they're in the advantage spot, so I definitely feel like I should be okay if I can get it to sleep. And so the question is how I get it to sleep, and I'm expecting them to expect me to just protect Weezing and spore with the Amoonguss. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to read that, and I'm going to protect with the Amoonguss, and I'm going to Pain Split the Magneton here, because the obvious play is me protecting with Weezing here. And this is the most damage the Weezing is going to be able to do to Magneton. So we protect this, and they do Flash Cannon into the Amoonguss, and so my read was correct. Pain Slip goes off, and I gain quite a bit of HP, and I did do about almost 50% damage to him, and then I get the Black Sludge off. So here, I'm like, okay, Amoonguss is likely going to be hit, so I'm going to Spore, and I'm going to Assurance into it. There's not much I can do about that, because, you know, I definitely, Amoonguss is going to get attacked, most likely. So they end up attacking Weezing, so I definitely could have protected there and probably won the game, but it was very obvious for them to attack Amoonguss because I just protected it. And so I end up getting the Spore, and here I'm like, okay, I feel like I probably need a 3-turn sleep to win this game, because I don't think Amoonguss takes any attack from Magneton. And so Hex is doing 2 times damage because it's asleep. So they take their first turn of sleep. And I get the Hex off, and yeah, it definitely looks like I can get it in 3 attacks, but definitely not 2 attacks. Even with a crit, I don't think I could get it with this next attack. So they get the second turn of sleep, and I get the Hex off, and so it's like, okay, coming down. Can one more turn of sleep and we got this. And so I ended up waking up, so I definitely was very close. Definitely feeling that one. I feel like if I had 1 fewer full paralysis, or if they had 1 more turn of sleep, I probably would have gotten the game, but you know, they did get 3 Pokemon paralyzed on me, so it's not too unlikely for me to get fully paralyzed like 5 times. So here we are for game 3. In this game, I'm like, okay, so my opponent did not lead a way to deal with Nagano Amoonguss, because I feel like I would have easily won if I had Nagano Amoonguss last game. And so here, I'm like, okay, let's just lead it again. They clearly didn't do anything to answer it last game, so I might as well just lead it like that. And I decided to just do kind of the exact game as last time, game 1, where I have Salazzle and Skuntank in the back. My opponent leads Sigilyph, Venusaur, and I definitely feel very bad because I feel like this lead is significantly better against the one I chose, and definitely don't feel great. So here I'm debating whether or not I'm checking whether or not Flamethrower should kill Venusaur, and I find out that basically it has a 0% chance to one-shot Venusaur. And so with that, I decide that I should Spore into Sigalith and Protect. I technically probably timed out there, but Naganadol's first move is Protect for that exact reason. And so whenever you time out, your first move is just selected. So they decided to Sleep Powder into my Amoonguss, but even if they would have Sleep Powder into my Naganadol, I would have just protected. So even though it was probably a misplay on their side, it didn't end up mattering. So we end up getting the Sleep Powder off the Sigalith. So now the plan is just I'm going to do some damage into the Venusaur spot. So I decided to Hex it and Flamethrower that spot. So we do quite good damage with the Flamethrower. However, they reveal to be weakness policy, and this is very concerning on my end. I was not expecting that at all. And then they hit a Sleep Powder, which is also very concerning. So the Sigalith just had their first turn of sleep, and this Hex is definitely not going to kill the Venusaur. So here I say, okay, I'm just going to Hex the Sigalith, and I'm debating between a switch out, but I don't actually have a clean switch out into a a +2 Earth Power from Venusaur. So I decide I'm just going to let Naganadol stay in there for a turn. So Naganadol stays asleep, obviously. Venusaur Sludge Bombs into Amoonguss, which does about 50%, and Sigalith wakes up and does Thunder Wave into the Naganadol spot. So definitely very convenient that they ended up doing that. Thunder Wave instead. However, definitely a little bit awkward that they had only the one turn sleep. So here again, I'm debating what I should do. I decided to switch in Skunk Tank because I should be able to take a hit from there, and I'm hoping for a one turn wake up like they had a one turn wake up, because that definitely gives me a very good advantage. So Skunk Tank should definitely take an Earth Power or a Sludge Bomb from Venusaur. And I end up getting the one turn wake up, and this definitely, I think, gives me a huge advantage, and I feel like I have the game in my hand now, and I just need to play well for the rest of it. The one turn sleep was a huge deal, and without that, I definitely feel like they were in the advantageous spot. So they end up getting the Tailwind up, so now Naganadol definitely doesn't outspeed almost anything on the team. So they bring in Blacephalon, and here I think the obvious play is just to crunch into the Blacephalon and go for the Protect on my Naganadol. The crunch plays around a switch out or some sort of non-protect move, and this should bring it down to Focus Sash. So they do in fact Expanding Force into Naganadol, and they end up psyching it, so that double up ended up doing nothing, and I feel very good about my play. And then Crunch brings down Blacephalon to Focus Sash. And so now I definitely feel like I'm in a huge advantage. Here, the easy choice is just Sucker Punch and Blacephalon, and Draco Meteor and Sigalith. Draco Meteor should guarantee KO Sigalith, and Sucker Punch will kill Blacephalon, or at least make it not be able to attack. So Sucker Punch kills the Blacephalon. I believe it's probably correct to do the attack and read that I don't Sucker Punch, because otherwise I think they are definitely going to lose the game. So it was a good hard read, but it ended up not working out. And Psychic ends up not killing me because of the berry, and Draco Meteor hits, which is very convenient for me, and it ends up getting the KO. So now my opponent has one Pokemon. I have three. Oh, I have all my Pokemon left, actually. So I'm definitely in a commanding spot, and now I think the game is over. I don't think there's anything they can do that can win. So last Pokemon is Dracovish, which should die to a Draco Meteor. Here, I think the clear play is to first check whether or not they have Tailwind up. And they do have one more turn of Tailwind. And so with that, I think the easy play is just double Protect and, to guarantee that I can hopefully outspeed them next turn. and so they end up using Psychic Fang. And here, the game is 100% over if they are Choice Scarf, and so I decided to play as if they aren't Choice Scarf and do Draco Meteor play rough. Draco Fish outspeeds, so it shows that they're Choice Scarf, which means that I'm guaranteed to have win this game now because Psychic Fang cannot hit my Skunk Tank. And so now it's just a formality of, you know, finishing up the game and seeing who gets the final KO. And so I bring Salazzle because why not? You might as well just fake out to prevent some of my Pokemon from dying. And so I go for the crunch and the fake out. I just crunch, just guarantees some damage. And so now they're in Sucker Punch range, and we got there. Well, that was a really great first week. I'm pretty happy about it. I definitely think it was a close match. We definitely both made some mistakes on both of our sides. And I think I ended up getting there with a little bit of luck, and I'm happy that I got the first win this week in the VDL. So thank you for watching.